This is the CBS Evening News with Dan Rather. Continuing coverage of Campaign 2000, the battle for the White House. From CBS News election headquarters in New York, here is Dan Rather.
Good evening. Al Gore got what he wanted and needed most today, recounts by hand that could help him win Florida and the presidency. Here's the latest. Some vote recounts by hand are underway again in disputed Florida counties. This comes after the Florida State Supreme Court refused a request by the Secretary of State in the state to stop them. Broward and Palm Beach counties both opted for recounts, but the recount battle isn't over. Florida's Republican Secretary of State is to decide whether she will accept these hand recounts in her final vote tally. On a separate track, a federal appeals court agreed to an appeal by the Bush campaign, a request to stop all Florida recounts. The official Florida vote count now without the new hand recounts or late absentee ballots from overseas has Bush leading Gore by 300 votes out of all 6 million cast in the state. At any moment, the vice president is expected to have something to say about this at his official residence in Washington before this microphone in front of that fireplace, and we will take you there live when the vice president does appear. Again tonight, our CBS News correspondents are deployed everywhere this story is breaking. We begin with the court battle over the hand recounts. CBS's Byron Pitts is in Tallahassee. Byron?
Well, Dan, today all sides took their case to the Florida State Supreme Court, but only the Gore campaign walked away with some of what they wanted. Today, the circus that took over Tallahassee moved from Florida State House to the State Supreme Court. All satellite trucks and lawyers with their lawsuits and legal briefs aimed at this two-story building and 7 justices inside, 6 Democrats and 1 Republican. Late today, they ruled the county canvassing board should proceed with their hand recounts. The decision came down shortly after the Bush team made one more pitch to keep the count the way it is.
By now, the Gore campaign strategy, I think, is crystal clear. Keep conducting selective recounts, keep filing lawsuits, keep making false charges that divert attention, and keep refusing to accept any deadline until the results change.
With the court siding with the Gore campaign, former Secretary of State Warren Christopher called for patience.
Well, our message is that we're working toward the most rapid resolution that we can. We understand the frustrations of everyone to reach a result on these matters. On the other hand, I think that the American people want to see us do this in a fair, consistent, rapid way.
Meantime, Florida's Secretary of State was busy with another matter, mulling over the letters from 3 county canvassing boards requesting more time to complete the hand recounts so those ballots can be certified. Palm Beach County summed it up when it said the manual recount could affect the outcome of this very close presidential race.
Good morning, Secretary of State's office.
Secretary of State Katherine Harris, now a GOP star in waiting. Today she received more flowers from across the country, praising her efforts to end the recount and proclaim George W. Bush the winner. A Bush delegate at the Republican National Convention, she was a child of privilege, born to one of the wealthiest families in Florida. Tonight, the presidency of the United States may not just come down to one state or one county, but one woman, and how she handles the ballot recount in Florida. Longtime Florida political reporter Bill Cotterell says, in the end, she must put her partisan politics aside.
I'm sure that a lot of Republicans want her to tilt the table their way out of loyalty to her party. She's acutely aware that any appearance of doing that would be fatal to not only her own reputation, and it wouldn't stand up in court very long if she...
As for the county's plea for more time, Secretary of State Harris could make her decision as early as tomorrow. Dan?
Byron Pitts in Tallahassee. Now, for those of you watching the CBS Evening News, we're going to pause to bring in our national CBS affiliates for Vice President Gore's appearance live in Washington. If you're watching the Evening News, stick here with us while we get this special report on the air, then we'll be back with you. This is a CBS News special report. Dan Rather at CBS News election headquarters in New York. We are standing by for Vice President Al Gore to make an appearance and to speak live from the Vice Presidential residence, the National Observatory in Washington, D.C., and here is the Vice President.
This has been an extraordinary 8 days for the American people, and I wanted to speak with you briefly about how I believe we should conclude this election. The campaign is over, but a test of our democracy is now underway. It is a test we must pass, and it is a test we will pass with flying colors. All we need is a common agreement that what is at stake here is not who wins and who loses in a contest for the presidency, but how we honor our Constitution and make sure that our democracy works as our founders intended it to work. This is a time to respect every voter and every vote. This is a time to honor the true will of the people. So our goal must be what is right for America. There is a simple reason that Florida law, and the law in many other states, calls for a careful check by real people of the machine results in elections like this one. The reason? Machines can sometimes misread or fail to detect the way ballots are cast. And when there are serious doubts, checking the machine count with a careful hand count is accepted far and wide as the best way to know the true intentions of the voters. That is why there have already been partial or complete hand counts, not just in 2 Democratic counties in Florida, but in 6 Republican counties as well. We need a resolution that is fair and final. We need to move expeditiously to the most complete and accurate count that is possible. And that is why I propose this evening a way to settle this matter with finality and justice in a period of days, not weeks. First, we should complete hand counts already begun in Palm Beach County, Dade County, and Broward County to determine the true intentions of the voters based on an objective evaluation of their ballots. Observers and participants from both parties should be present in every counting room as required under Florida law. The results of this recount would, of course, be added to the present certified vote total and the overseas absentee vote total. If this happens, I will abide by the result. I will take no legal action to challenge the result, and I will not support any legal action to challenge the result. I am also prepared, if Governor Bush prefers, to include in this recount all the counties in the entire state of Florida. I would also be willing to abide by that result and agree not to take any legal action to challenge that result. If there are no further interruptions to the process, we believe the count can be completed within 7 days of the time it starts. Now, second, I propose that Governor Bush and I meet personally, one-on-one, as soon as possible before the vote count is finished, not to negotiate, but to improve the tone of our dialogue in America. We should both call on all of our supporters to respect the outcome of this election, whatever it may be. We should both call on all our supporters to prepare themselves to close ranks as Americans and unite the country behind the winner as soon as this process is completed. Shortly after the results are known, we should both come together for another meeting to reaffirm our national unity. If I turn out to be successful, I'll be ready to travel to Governor Bush's home. If I am not, I'll be ready to meet him wherever he wishes. I would also like to urge all of those speaking for either of us to do their part to lift up this discourse, to refrain from using inflammatory language, and to avoid statements that could make it harder for our country to come together once the counting is over. That is the direction I have given to my own campaign. I don't know what the final results will show, but I do know this is about much more than what happens to me or my opponent. It is about our democracy. My faith is in the people's will, in our Constitution, and in our system of self-government. Thank you, God bless you, and God bless America.
Sir, what do you hope to accomplish by meeting?
Vice President Al Gore speaking live from Washington with Senator Lieberman, his vice presidential candidate, at his side. This is a major move by the vice president in at least the court of public opinion. Number one, he says that if the hand recount in major Florida counties is allowed to continue, that he will abide by the results of that plus the outstanding absentee votes from overseas, and that after I think he said a 7-day period, he'd be prepared to meet with Governor Bush to talk about the next step. A very confident Vice President Al Gore proposing a new, if you will, offensive of how this thing may play itself out. This concludes our CBS News special report. Now, for many of you, stick right here with us, because in much of the nation, the CBS Evening News will be picking up in just a few seconds.
This has been a CBS News special report.
Good evening again. Well, as you just saw, Vice President Gore has just called for a meeting between himself and Governor Bush, at least eventually. Let's go to CBS's John Roberts for more about that. John?
Dan, you're hearing a vice president tonight who is extremely confident, and here's the reason why. His campaign knows what the results of the counts were in all 67 counties across the state of Florida. They know where the anomalies were, that is, the votes that were not counted by the machines. They know how those votes were counted. They know potentially what votes are out there, and they know that the votes that could go to Gore are centered particularly in Palm Beach and Broward County. They had also included a request for Dade County's Board of Canvassers to take a look at votes there, though they don't really want to open up Dade County. They know that between Palm Beach and Broward, there could be as many as 16,000 votes that were not counted for president, some of which, upon closer examination, may find a vote for either Governor Bush or for the vice president. But when you look at the fact that Broward County went 60% for Al Gore, if you were to discover that some of those so-called undervotes that didn't have the now famous Chad punched all the way through, if you found some of those votes that were actually marked for a presidential candidate, the likelihood would be 60-40 that they would go for Gore. So, Dan, the Gore campaign now has the game in their court. They have hand counts going on in Broward. There will be a hand count going on in Palm Beach County as well. All of the votes in those counties that were cast last Tuesday will be counted, and they're counting on a large number of those going to the vice president. However, Dan, there is another concern. They also believe that Governor Bush may do better than expected in those so-called overseas absentee ballots, and so they need every vote they can get in Palm Beach and Broward County. But they're pretty certain, though, Dan, that if they did go to a statewide hand recount, Al Gore would continue to do well in those two counties, better than Governor Bush would in Republican counties. Dan?
John Roberts at the White House. Now, for those of you who are saying, listen, all this is moving too fast for me to quite grasp it, one of tomorrow morning's headlines is certain to be that Vice President Al Gore has said he's offered to abide by the Florida recount plus still outstanding overseas absentee ballots if George Bush will also agree to abide by that. The Vice President also offered to have all Florida counties recounted if that's what the Bush campaign wanted. This is a new offensive by the Vice President. And John Roberts mentioned the still outstanding absentee ballots from overseas. There are a number of people very high in the Gore camp who believe the Vice President would do better in those absentee ballots than some in the Bush campaign seem to believe, because they're counting on a heavy absentee late from overseas count in Israel. But we'll see about that. The Bush campaign view has been and is Bush won Florida and he's won the presidency, and that there's no compelling reason for any more recounts. And the Bush team is now turning to a federal appeals court to try to block them, a federal appeals court. This may be headed for the U.S. Supreme Court. Bill Whitaker is covering the Bush campaign in Austin. Bill, what can you tell us?
Well, Dan, there's no response from the Bush campaign yet, but there's almost certainly will be sometime just a little bit from now, because this campaign is obsessed with trying to stop that hand count in Florida. And their hope now rests with the 11th Circuit Court in Atlanta. Now, this campaign has admitted that things are spinning out of control so fast that they don't know exactly how to respond, either legally in Tallahassee or politically here in Austin.
Good afternoon.
Governor Bush's running mate, Dick Cheney, went to their Austin headquarters to thank campaign workers and to restate the obvious, that the center of power has shifted to Florida.
If you got specific questions on the situation in Florida, they should be directed to Jim Baker. Jim's doing a fantastic job down there.
There are rumblings within the Republican Party of a power struggle, that the old hand Baker has snatched the reins from Austin. One staffer says the Austin office is in limbo. Item, they announced a press conference with the governor for this morning, then at the last minute canceled it, then denied even calling one. While Al Gore is out and about and upbeat, this is the scene in Austin. Governor Bush is out of sight at his secluded Texas ranch, unseen since Saturday. One of the last times he spoke, last Friday.
The administration will be ready to assume office.
Some Republicans called it presumptuous. Some observers say he's being outmaneuvered.
I actually think they're losing the short-term PR war. They're trying to seem as though the politics is not involved. It's all about the law and standard procedure, when in fact this is about nothing but politics.
Now the campaign response, this is not about a PR battle, it's about winning the election. And as for a power struggle within the campaign, this campaign says nonsense. Dan?
Bill Whitaker in Austin. With breaking news raining on us at this hour, the CBS Evening News will continue in a moment, so stay here with us.
If your pencils look like mine did, there's something you can do. Ask your doctor if the Nicotrol inhaler is right for you. Or for more information, call 1-800-INHALER. Call today.
Everyone's looking for oddball spots. And you can find them. Get this special Alpo water bowl where spots appear. Starring Oddball from Disney's 102 Dalmatians. Just look for Alpo's proven formula with chicory for a long and healthy life. And look for Waddlesworth, Drooler, Chomp, and friends at theaters everywhere. A great dog deserves a long life. A great dog deserves Alpo from Friskies.
The 50-state quarter program is one of the most unique programs our country has ever seen.
Each quarter is a miniature work of art.
If you want to collect them, the Mint has coin sets and maps to help you get started.
If we haven't gotten to your state yet, you can bet that it's coming.
All moved in. What's for lunch?
Chicken and star soup.
Condensed soup? I used to eat that too. And then I got out of the high chair.
You're an adult now. There's a better tasting soup. Progresso chicken noodle. It has tender pieces of all white meat chicken and bigger slices of hearty vegetables with just the right seasonings. See the difference?
Wow. This is better.
Now, if you could just eat without the bib.
It's time to go to the better taste of Progresso.
I told my father I wanted to grow up to be a teacher. Wouldn't you rather be a doctor? He said. It's a noble profession and you could become wealthy. That may be true, I said. But without teachers, where would doctors come from?
I had some gas. I was kind of ashamed of it. I didn't want to go out at all.
For serious gas, there's new Phazyme Ultra with more gas medicine than ever before.
Works just like that. Thank you, Phazyme.
Try new Phazyme Ultra.
That smells! Someone refill that Glade plug-in!
For lasting freshness, don't forget to refill your Glade plug-ins.
Plug it in, plug it in!
For clarity, Dateline, Washington, Democratic Vice President Al Gore proposed a statewide hand count in Florida, if Bush would agree to it, to resolve the disputed U.S. election. Quote, "This is the time to respect every voter and every vote," the vice president said. "This is the time to honor the true will of the people." Now, Gore also proposes that he and Bush meet personally, not, he said, to negotiate, but to, quote, "improve the tone of the dialogue." And Gore also suggested another meeting take place after the winner of the presidential election is known. Now, we've talked a lot about absentee votes, and it could come down to the absentee votes in Florida. The absentee voter overall, who is he or she? And more to the point, where is he or she? In this Eye on America in-depth investigation, CBS's Jim Axelrod reports about the last place you will ever find some absentee voters is at home.
On a gorgeous day in Fort Walton Beach, Florida, you can understand why anyone would want to call it home.
I maintain my residency in the state of Florida.
Like Air Force Major Kent Taylor, among those who voted by absentee ballot this year. Taylor hasn't lived in Fort Walton Beach for 11 years. For the last 6, his home's been outside Washington, D.C.
Military members may change their residency each time the military directs them to move. I have chosen not to.
There's nothing unfair about that, and there's nothing illegal about it.
Pat Holleran is the election supervisor in Okaloosa County, which includes Fort Walton Beach, 4 military installations, and a Coast Guard station. She guesses she has about 1,000 military voters registered who haven't lived in Florida for years. So if you are an 18-year-old and you're living in the barracks on the base, and then you spend the next 20 years hopscotching
someplace
different
else,
states and countries.
If you say this is your legal residence and you keep this mailing address up to date, you're here forever.
In fact, you don't even have to have an actual residence for Florida to be your legal residence. In Okaloosa County, for instance, 3,615 people, out of state or out of the country, call this home for purposes of voting the county courthouse.
Those are only the people who have no physical residence here. We have approximately 11,000 people out of 111,000 who are registered here who don't live in the county.
What do you mean they don't live in the county?
Now, how many ways can I describe that? They ain't here.
Joe Rodriguez is one of them, a Coast Guard commander with a Florida driver's license. He hasn't lived here for 24 years.
I don't have a problem voting in Florida, even though I haven't lived there for quite some time.
Whether it's scenes like this or the lack of a state income tax, Florida residency is attractive for many, and, says CBS legal consultant Jonathan Turley, among the easiest to maintain.
It's actually easier in Florida to register to vote than it is to get a credit card. You are certainly asked if you're a citizen, but there is no questioning of that representation, and there's no questioning as to your residency.
If the Florida vote and the presidential election hinge on some 4,000 expected overseas absentee ballots, it seems many will come from people whose hearts and minds are in Florida, even if their bodies haven't been here for a long, long time. For Eye on America, I'm Jim Axelrod in Fort Walton Beach, Florida.
At an Asian Economic Summit in Brunei today, President Clinton told reporters he's been peppered with questions from other leaders about the U.S. election. At a photo op with Russian President Putin, President Clinton said he assured questioners that while the Florida vote dispute is tedious, it is not a crisis.
We have plenty of time. There's nothing to worry about. I think other leaders should have the same reaction the American people have. I think they're pretty relaxed about it now. They're going to let the process play out.
After a meeting tomorrow with China's leader, President Clinton flies to Hanoi, the first U.S. president to visit Vietnam since the war. In Israel, First Lady and Senator-elect Hillary Clinton represented the United States at the funeral for Leah Rabin, widow of the slain Israeli Prime Minister Yitzhak Rabin. In the West Bank and Gaza, 8 Palestinians died in a day of fierce fighting. Israeli troops traded fire with Palestinian gunmen, but teenage rock throwers took the heaviest casualties. And there's late word tonight that Israeli helicopters fired rockets at Yasser Arafat's West Bank headquarters. On the CBS Market Watch, the Federal Reserve said today inflation remains a potential threat somewhere down the road. That took the wind out of Wall Street's two-day rally after an early advance today. Stocks closed with small gains. The Fed also indicated it believes this is not the time for any major policy changes. CBS's Anthony Mason has more about that.
With a political fog hovering over the country and the economy, Alan Greenspan decided to leave interest rates well enough alone today.
The Fed doesn't want to push its luck. The last thing the Fed wants to do in this environment is throw a curveball at anyone.
10 for 5,000. Sold.
The political curveball has already knocked Wall Street for a loop. Stocks have slumped badly since Election Day.
I'm sure there are people in different stocks that would prefer one candidate over the other, but right now the market wants resolution, not revolution.
Especially with the economy already slowing. 6 Fed rate hikes have succeeded in cooling off an economy that was dangerously hot. From a 5.6 annual growth rate in the second quarter, we slid to 2.7% in the third.
90, 20 down, 11 down, 10.
But now with all the political uncertainty, says former Fed Governor Lyle Gramley,
we have to begin worrying about the possibility that the economy is going to slow more than anybody wants it to.
Watch consumer confidence, says Gramley. That's now his biggest concern.
And the longer this goes on, the greater the likelihood that the consumer turns sour, and in which case he stops spending. And that's not good news.
The damage to stocks isn't making Americans feel any wealthier, and until a Florida recount is over, analysts say, a Wall Street rally can't begin.
The market doesn't mind, quite frankly, a stalemated government or a sleeping government. It just doesn't want a paralyzed government.
With the presidential mess compounding the risk that the economy could be headed for a hard landing, most economists believe if the Fed does make another move on interest rates in the next 6 months, it will likely be to lower them. Dan?
Anthony Mason. Up next here on CBS, a look at what's ahead in this Within the Hour. fast-changing battle for the White House.
Tonight's Market Watch segment is sponsored by Fidelity. All the expertise, service, and technology to help you see yourself succeeding.
It's a big leap to take, to make the decision to retire.
And then it happens.
It's frightening at first, because what am I going to do? Where do you want to go?
I would like to go to California.
You know me, I'm always pushing to go to another culture. Oh, we opened an account with Fidelity, what, 30 years ago? Like China. And we just kept adding on to it, adding on to it.
And adding to it, and adding to it. Oh, come on.
Fidelity was always there for us. There's a gentleman there, Roger Hobby, who helped us along the way, and he's still there.
Yeah, he was there when we rolled over our pension into an IRA and started trading stocks.
He's a real investor. Sure.
Don't overcook them, hon.
The same folks are helping us draw down income for retirement now.
It was a lot more fun taking it out than putting it in.
That's true. But we're very, very happy with where we are. We're very fortunate, I think.
To invest, call, click, or visit Fidelity.
I wish I was home, homeward bound. Home, where my thoughts escape, and home, where my music's playing.
New MSN Explorer. Everything you need to feel at home on the web, all in one place.
So I can order HBO, right?
Yes, sir. Actually, 7 of them.
So it's got a pretty clear picture then?
100% digital quality.
Football?
Up to 13 NFL games every Sunday if you want them.
I love you.
I know, sir.
Now get free professional installation when you buy a DirecTV system and sign up for Total Choice programming.
Hi.
Hello, America, how are you?
When I eat good, I feel good.
Healthy Choice helps you feel good.
We're both feeling good.
Because eating right makes a difference. And now there are 14 new meals to help you feel good. Like Southwestern rice and beans, grilled chicken with fire-roasted tomato sauce, and sirloin tips in a mushroom and wine gravy. Delicious and nutritionally balanced. They help you feel good.
I feel great.
I feel really good.
Oh. Healthy Choice. Feel good food.
The election in limbo, ballot deadlines, voter confusion, controversies. We'll answer all your questions. Wake up to what's happening tomorrow morning on The Early Show with Bryant Gumbel and Jane Clayson.
Breaking news this hour in the battle for the White House. Vice President Al Gore says that he's willing to have a full recount of all counties in Florida if Governor Bush will agree to that and to abide by the decision that produces. The Vice President also said that he was willing to meet with Bush right away to improve the overall climate of the deadlocked race for the presidency and then meet with Bush again after a final decision was in. The Vice President also said tonight that hand recounts of votes in disputed Florida counties show, quote, respect for every voter and every vote. Gore also asked for a, quote, national unity and the personal meeting with Texas Governor Bush. Vote recounts by hand are underway in disputed Florida counties, as the Gore campaign had requested. The Florida State Supreme Court ruled that they could proceed. A federal appeals court has agreed to hear a Bush campaign appeal. Dan Rather at our world headquarters in New York, reporting for the CBS Evening News. Good night.
This is CBS.
Storm Target 5 beginning to show some light rain back in parts of Arkansas and Missouri. We'll tell you when it's going to rain here.
Plus, our state slogan says, Tennessee sounds good to me, but some women say not to them.
I propose that Governor Bush and I meet personally, one-on-one, as soon as possible before the vote count is finished.
The Vice President lays out his plan to bring this election to a conclusion. The news is now.
From the News Channel 5 Network, this is News Channel 5 at 6, your news and information leader.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Chris Clark.
And I'm Vicki Yates. For the 7th day in a row, history has been put on hold. Right now, the outcome of the presidential election lies in the absentee ballots, but that hasn't stopped the barrage of court filings and lawsuits. Here are the latest developments. This morning, Florida's Secretary of State Katherine Harris asks the Supreme Court to combine all lawsuits and delay the hand counts. The 2 o'clock deadline